Number 1. The utopian life in North Korea. Can someone tell me how the people of North Korea manage to endure all these unimaginable circumstances? First of all, they hold elections once a year, and every citizen is required to vote for a new leader, but the peculiar thing is that the ballot always contains only one name, which is that of their current leader. Here, blue jeans and flashy accessories are banned because they are considered contrary to the simple lifestyle of socialism and an imitation of capitalist culture. If you are a social media addict, you would not be able to live in this country. You cannot browse Facebook, post photos on Instagram, search for information on Google, or even watch this video on YouTube. The simple reason is that North Korea says no to global internet. They have their own intranet called Pyongyang, where the world revolves around news about the leader and domestic science. In fact, even if you wanted to break the barrier to connect with the outside world, it would be difficult because phones here are a luxury item. From 2004 to 2008, phones were completely banned. Only recently have they become more common, but the price of a smartphone can be 10 times the monthly income of a rural citizen. That's why even in the capital, only 72% of the population has a phone, while in the provinces, this number drops to just over 30%. But don't think having a phone is a blessing. North Korean phones are smart enough to take a screenshot every 5 minutes. Of course, it doesn't take selfies. It captures screenshots to report what you are doing to the government. Moreover, it acts as a real spell checker. If you try to type South Korea, it will automatically correct it to puppet government. Or if you type baby, it will change it to comrade. Furthermore, you probably would never want to be reincarnated as a rural North Korean woman because sanitary pads can cost as much as half a kilogram of rice. So, the trend here is to use cloth, wash it repeatedly, and reuse it month after month. And perhaps North Korea is one of the last places on Earth where condoms are considered alien objects. The government does not encourage contraceptive methods because they need a large workforce to build the country. As a result, many people live their entire lives naively, believing that children are born by divine will, unaware of the existence of modern protective measures. If you were given the choice, would you want to live in this country? If so, please comment with the number 1 so I can see how many brave people are here. Number 2. Some of the most outrageous punishments in North Korea. Have you ever found yourself nodding off in a boring meeting? Anywhere else, you might just get a gentle reminder from your boss. But in North Korea, a brief yawn could land you a lifetime vacation in prison. There was even a case where a high-ranking official faced severe punishment simply for showing signs of fatigue in front of the leadership. In North Korea's ideological framework, dozing off is not seen as a result of sleep deprivation, but rather as a sign of disloyalty and contempt for the national will, making punishment a given. However, that's not all. There have been rumors that the government sent at least 30 officials to join their ancestors just for failing to prevent flooding. They believe that if officials were dedicated and followed the proper procedures for protecting the dikes, the damage would not have occurred. While it's true that accountability is necessary, the severity of such punishments is something only North Korea would dare to impose. Next is the story of film consumption. You can watch Korean dramas freely, but in North Korea, 2 16-year-old teenagers were sentenced to 12 years of hard labor simply for a few hours of watching K-dramas. The government enacted the law on rejecting reactionary thought and culture because they feared that the extravagant and free lifestyle depicted in foreign films would undermine the younger generation's faith in the regime. In the past, if you happened to be born with a physical defect, you might very well be sent to isolated islands. According to some reports, this was because the government wanted to project an image of a healthy and perfect nation to the international community. Anything that did not fit this paradise image had to disappear from public view. However, in the last decade, North Korea has made efforts to improve its image by participating in the Paralympics, a sporting event for athletes with physical or intellectual disabilities, and establishing the Association for the Protection of the Disabled, along with care facilities in Pyongyang. But perhaps the most perplexing punishment involves a factory worker who accidentally made a phone call to a relative in China. He faced a public trial in front of 150,000 spectators at a stadium. The country has mandated that any uncensored international communication is considered espionage or an attempt to defect. Public punishment in front of a crowd serves as a deterrent to everyone, reinforcing that national secrets and isolation are top priorities, and anyone attempting to breach this wall will pay a heavy price. Finally, the most terrifying punishment is the 3 generations of punishment law. When someone commits a political crime, not only are they punished, but their parents and children are also sent for re-education, This is a way to compel citizens to monitor each other, as one person's mistake can ruin an entire family line. Number 3. The country with the lowest record salary. It seems that all the money North Korea earns is funneled into its military, as the salaries in this country are so low that it's hard to believe it could produce nuclear weapons. Here, the official salary of a factory worker ranges from just $3 to $5 a month. Professions that are respected in society, such as teachers or doctors, earn only slightly more, around $10 to $15. Even the country's large military force sometimes receives a symbolic wage of just a few cents. With these figures, North Korea officially holds the record for the lowest wages in the Asian region. So how do people manage to live on just a few dollars? The answer lies in the fact that the government covers almost all basic living expenses. For instance, citizens are provided with free housing and receive ration coupons to exchange for rice, cooking oil, and salt. Additionally, education and healthcare are completely free of charge. However, life is not a dream, as this distribution system often faces breakdowns. When state grain warehouses are empty, people must resort to self-sufficiency through informal markets known as jangmadang. This is the heart of the underground economy, where everything from vegetables and dried fish to jeans and illegal soap is sold. Prices at jangmadang are much higher than those of state goods, turning it into a real battle of wits for those who have only a meager salary to spend. Besides food, daily life here is also a test of endurance due to severe electricity shortages. Viewed from space at night, North Korea resembles a massive black hole nestled between its brightly lit neighbors, China and South Korea. Except for the capital, Pyongyang, which is prioritized for lighting, most rural areas are shrouded in darkness. Images of students huddled together studying under rare streetlights, or families gathering around a dim oil lamp, have become part of the identity of this place. Those who are better off may invest in a battery, but even then, they only dare to use it to charge their phones or light a small bulb. The hardships peak during winter, as hot water is an extremely luxurious concept. Even though people live in free collective housing, the hot water supply system is virtually non-existent. To bathe properly, residents must go to public bathhouses, where wood or coal is still used to heat water manually. On days of extreme cold below 0 degrees Celsius, being doused with a bucket of warm water is a lavish indulgence. For most, boiling a small basin of water at home and taking a quick wash in the biting cold is a normal occurrence. Number 4. Where the leader is the only deity. North Korea is known as the most atheistic country on the planet, where all forms of traditional belief are considered dangerous legacies and a direct threat to revolutionary ideology. After the Korean War, the government took measures to eradicate old religions to make way for a single ideology. If you visit Pyongyang, you may still see Christian churches or Buddhist temples. However, these places are largely just stages set up to show international visitors that the country still allows freedom of belief. The ceremonies held there are actually elaborate staged events, where participants are carefully selected and must memorize every prayer like a movie script. They do not genuinely believe in God or Buddha. They are merely performing their roles to please the government and the visitors. Instead of seeking comfort from supernatural beings, the people of North Korea are taught to place absolute faith in their leaders. According to the country's media portrayal, their leader is akin to a true saint. For instance, Kim Il-sung, the founder of the nation, is honored with the title Eternal President. In the mindset of this political system, he never dies, and his title of president is unique, with no one allowed to succeed him in that position. The veneration is further mythologized with subsequent leaders. State media recounts that when the late leader Kim Jong-il was born on Mount Paektu, a bright star suddenly appeared in the sky. Winter turned into spring, and a double rainbow emerged to welcome him. Moreover, he is celebrated as a prodigy who could walk at 3 weeks old and speak at 8 weeks. Even during his university years, he reportedly wrote 1,500 books in just 3 years. In this country, instead of placing images of God or Buddha in their homes, every family is required to have portraits of the leaders on their walls. You must use a separate set of cloths to clean them daily, ensuring they are spotless and free of dust. If the portraits are hung crookedly or are not clean, you could potentially face imprisonment, particularly during fires or floods. The first thing people are taught to prioritize, saving is not money, valuables, or even family members, but these portraits. There have been famous stories circulated online about a woman who was imprisoned simply for choosing to save her child from a fire instead of rescuing the portraits of the leaders. Number 5. Interesting facts about North Korea. One of the interesting facts about North Korea that you can observe at a glance is the stature of its people. Despite sharing a common genetic background, North Koreans born after the war have an average height that is 5 centimeters shorter than their South Korean counterparts. Why is that? The answer lies in decades of nutritional disparity. While South Korea has become a paradise for fast food and dairy products, the harsh living conditions have inadvertently resulted in a noticeably smaller physique among the North Korean population compared to their neighbors. But it doesn't stop there. If you think a height difference of 5 centimeters is significant, take a look at their finances. You would be shocked to learn that the net worth of billionaire Bill Gates is estimated to be about 7 to 8 times the total GDP of North Korea combined. Just imagine, Bill Gates alone could support the economy of a nation with 25 million people. This illustrates that North Korea is not only politically isolated but also truly a financial island on the world map. Not only is the country economically poor, but its infrastructure also leaves drivers shaking their heads. Did you know that out of more than 25,500 kilometers of roads in North Korea, only about 724 kilometers are paved, which is less than 3%? Few people realize that most of the transportation network here consists of dusty dirt roads. So, if you dream of a cross-country road trip on smooth highways, North Korea will certainly offer you an unwanted off-road racing experience. However, the most shocking aspect is not the roads, but how this country manages time. North Korea once went so far as to create its own time zone called Pyongyang time, which is 30 minutes off from the rest of the region. This was their way of asserting sovereignty and erasing remnants of colonial times. Although they later adjusted the time to align with international standards, it remains a testament to how this country is willing to fall out of sync with the world to maintain its identity. Finally, you will feel like you're traveling back in time when you look at their calendar. In fact, North Korea is living behind the world by more than 1,900 years. This is simply because they do not use the Gregorian calendar, but rather the Juche calendar. This calendar marks the year 1 as the birth year of the late leader Kim Il-sung, which is 1912. Therefore, while we are living in the year 2026, the people of North Korea are only experiencing Juche year 115. Would you like to know more interesting little facts about North Korea? If so, please comment with the number 4. Number 6. The century heists suspected to be carried out by North Korea. Have you ever wondered how a country that is shunned by the world, unable to export or trade normally, still has enough money to launch missiles like fireworks? The answer may lie in the sophisticated shadow operations that the international community suspects are orchestrated by North Korea. First, we must mention the name that has kept banks and cryptocurrency exchanges around the globe awake at night: Lazarus Group. According to claims from the FBI and international cybersecurity organizations, this is a massive cybercrime organization directly backed by the North Korean government with a singular goal: to become a digital money printer to break free from the economic shackles of sanctions. With traditional revenue sources locked down, investing in brilliant tech minds is the most low-cost, high-reward option. With just a few computers and internet connections, they can bring in billions of dollars in foreign currency without ever stepping outside their borders. This group frequently targets the vulnerabilities of global finance, such as the international money transfer system, SWIFT, used by banks, or the cryptocurrency bridges that still have many security loopholes. To see how elite they are, just look at the actual results. 2025 was recorded as the most successful year for Lazarus, with over $2 billion in cryptocurrency stolen. Among these, the attack on the Bybit exchange in February 2025 resulted in a theft of $1.5 billion, becoming the largest cryptocurrency heist in history to date. The reason they suspect North Korea is that the group's operational hours align perfectly with business hours in the North Korean time zone. Additionally, Lazarus hardly operates on weekends or major holidays in the country. Furthermore, they have traced the final destination of these funds back to North Korea. Of course, North Korea has consistently denied these allegations as baseless and unfounded. But before dominating the virtual world, North Korea had already driven the U.S. Treasury Department crazy in the real world with an operation known as Supernote. If you hold a regular counterfeit bill, it can be easily detected by touch or by a machine. However, Supernote refers to counterfeit $100 bills, so sophisticated that they are printed on cotton fiber paper with color-shifting ink and techniques that only governments have access to the equipment needed to produce. For decades, millions of these supernotes have quietly infiltrated the global financial system. They are so perfect that even the currency checking machines of the U.S. Federal Reserve have been fooled multiple times. Intelligence experts allege that North Korea acquired specialized printing machines worth millions of dollars from Europe to produce these more real than real bills. The aim was not only to profit but also to deliver a psychological blow to the U-10's economy. Once again, Pyongyang denied the existence of supernote, making it one of the biggest mysteries in the finance and banking world. If I gave you two $100 bills, one a supernote and the other a real one, do you think you could tell the difference? If you think you could, comment with the number 3. Number 7. Why is the Korean peninsula difficult to unify? Why is the unification of North and South Korea an extremely difficult puzzle? First and foremost is the issue of borders. The boundary between North and South Korea is currently regarded as one of the most militarized zones in the world. Along the border, there are layers of barbed wire and approximately 1 million landmines. Clearing and removing all these mines could take hundreds of years and cost trillions of dollars, and this is a necessary task before the two regions can become a unified nation. However, let's assume we take a shortcut and temporarily set aside the border issue. The real complications are just beginning. South Korea is currently the 14th largest economy in the world, operating based on industries with extremely high complexity and technological content. If unification occurs, it means that South Korea will have to take on the responsibility of lifting the northern economy. This process could require trillions of dollars and take at least several decades just to develop the northern part of the Korean peninsula. Meanwhile, the workforce in North Korea lacks the necessary skills to participate in the production chain of a modern economy, leading to a host of repercussions. This disparity could cause investors, suppliers, and international customers to be concerned about the stability of a country undergoing such significant upheaval. Unification could also severely impact the country's ability to borrow funds, especially at a time when they are most in need of capital. If they have to borrow from abroad at high interest rates, managing and stabilizing the economy would become extremely challenging. However, this does not mean that unification is solely disadvantageous. On the contrary, the two regions could significantly reduce defense costs, as the internal military threat would no longer exist. Additionally, unification would help South Korea address its aging population and low birth rate, as North Korea has a much younger demographic. Moreover, North Korea possesses abundant natural resources, which have great potential for exploitation if managed effectively. Number 8. North Korea was once an empire that dominated East Asia. Forget the images of a closed-off nation, because over 1,500 years ago, the precursor to Korea was a true dragon empire with the most formidable military power in East Asia. This was Goguryeo. At its peak in the 5th century, this nation not only lingered on the Korean peninsula, but also expanded its territory into the vast Manchuria region of China, and even encroached upon what is now Primorsky Krai in Russia. The capital of this empire is now the capital of North Korea, Pyongyang. To govern and protect such a vast territory, Goguryeo built an army that modern historians refer to as steel warriors. The most fearsome of these was the heavy cavalry known as Gema Musa. Imagine, at a time when most soldiers around the world still wore cloth or crude leather armor, Goguryeo deployed tens of thousands of cavalrymen clad in iron armor from head to toe, along with their armored horses. These early armored tanks swept through infantry formations and became a terrifying nightmare for any enemy daring to approach their borders. Additionally, the people of Goguryeo were renowned as masters of technology and convenience. One of their greatest inventions, still used by Koreans today, is the Ondol floor heating system. To combat the bone-chilling cold of the northern regions, engineers of that time designed pipes to carry hot air from the kitchen running beneath stone floors. While Western nobles of that era huddled around fireplaces that only warmed a corner of the room, the people of Goguryeo could sleep on warm floors like electric blankets in the midst of the harsh winter. This is considered one of the earliest and most intelligent central heating systems in human history. While the inside of their homes was so warm, outside, the Goguryeo people constructed protective fortifications using architectural techniques that defied all limits. Instead of building walls on flat plains like most, they chose steep cliffs as a foundation to create massive flying fortresses made of stone. Notably, each stone was carved into a trapezoidal shape, wider on the outside and tapering inward, allowing them to fit together so tightly that not even a knife blade could slip through. This lockstone structure enabled the fortresses to stand firm against the 1,000-ton pressure of earth and rock and the erosion of time for thousands of years without the need for mortar. Number 9. Pyongyang, the capital of privileges. Pyongyang is essentially an extremely luxurious safe zone compared to the rest of North Korea. After being completely flattened during the war, the city was rebuilt from scratch with a single goal: to become the perfect face of the nation. The first thing that astonishes anyone who visits is the world's deepest subway system. In Pyongyang, taking the subway feels like a journey into the earth, as the stations are located over 100 meters underground. You will spend nearly 4 minutes just standing on the escalator to reach the platform. In reality, this system is not only for transportation, it serves as a massive nuclear shelter. In the event of an emergency, the entire population of the city can retreat here and live normally thanks to the thick layers of earth and rock above. The underground is not dark at all. It is decorated like a palace with chandeliers and murals, making you feel more like you are strolling through a museum than a subway station. This city features an iconic structure resembling a giant pyramid, the Ryugyong Hotel. This is the tallest building in North Korea, which began construction in 1987 with the ambition of surpassing all modern structures at the time. Ironically, after nearly 40 years, it has never welcomed a single guest due to numerous financial and technical issues. While they have installed luxurious glass on the outside and illuminated it with dazzling LED lights at night, the interior remains just an empty concrete shell. In addition to its notable structures, Pyongyang is home to iconic figures, namely the traffic policewomen. For a long time, the city had almost no traffic lights, and these beautiful young women acted as living robots, directing traffic with movements as precise as machines. Although traffic lights have become more common now, these female officers still represent a part of the city's soul. One unique aspect of Pyongyang is that not everyone can reside here. To be granted a Pyongyang residency permit, you must belong to the elite class, have absolute loyalty to the state, or be a scientist or artist with significant contributions. Living in the capital means stepping into a different world: stable electricity and water, modern healthcare, and a far greater abundance of goods compared to rural provinces. Naturally, such individuals are not the majority, so if you visit, you will find that despite being the capital, it is remarkably quiet. Number 10. Countries where independent travel is not possible. North Korea is one of the few countries in the world where the concept of independent travel does not exist. You can't just book a flight, reserve a room on booking.com, and stroll around the streets. Here, everything must go through government-approved travel agencies. First, to get to North Korea, the easiest way is to fly to China first, and then take a train or another flight to Pyongyang. The visa application process isn't too complicated, but there's a peculiar rule. You usually won't have the visa stamped in your passport like in other countries. Instead, they will give you a separate piece of paper, which they will collect when you leave the country. What's special is that upon arrival, you will be assigned 2 bodyguards, who also serve as your guides, to accompany you 24/7 throughout your trip. Where you go, what you see, and what you eat are all pre-arranged. Never think about sneaking out of your hotel at night for a stroll, or to grab a snack at roadside stalls. If your guide isn't with you, you must stay in the hotel. Not only is your movement restricted, but even talking to locals on the streets is almost prohibited. If you wish to speak with someone, you must inform your guide in advance so they can arrange for someone to talk to you. Moreover, in other countries, you can take photos however you like, but in North Korea, if you want to photograph the statues of the leaders, you must capture the entire figure from head to toe. You cannot take partial shots or cut off any part. You are also not allowed to photograph military installations or areas that are off limits. Guides will frequently ask to see your camera, and if they find any inappropriate photos, they will require you to delete them immediately before leaving the border. Despite the many strict regulations, there are still many people eager to explore this most closed-off country in the world. So, how much does a trip like this cost? In reality, traveling to North Korea is quite expensive compared to other countries in the region. An average tour lasting 4 to 5 days, starting from when you are in China, will cost around $1,000 to $1,400. This price includes visa fees, transportation, meals, and accommodation. However, once you are there, you will hardly be able to use their local currency. You must use US dollars, euros, or Chinese yuan to buy souvenirs at shops specifically for foreign visitors, and the prices are not cheap. With such prices, would you want to travel to North Korea? If so, comment with the number 10. Number 11. Must-visit places in North Korea. Mount Paktu, located on the border between North Korea and China, is the most frequently mentioned destination when it comes to the unique tourism of this country. Standing at approximately 2,744 meters, it is the highest mountain on the Korean peninsula and is also an active volcano. At the summit of Paektu lies a massive crater that houses Heaven Lake, a nearly circular lake spanning about 9 square kilometers and over 200 meters deep, which completely freezes over in winter. What surprises visitors is that this lake has no rivers flowing into it. The water primarily comes from melting snow and rainfall. For the Korean people, Paektu is not only a natural wonder but also deeply intertwined with political history, as the state propagates it as the birthplace of national spirit and directly connects it to the leadership family. During visits, tourists are only allowed to stand in designated areas and must follow a fixed script for commentary, with no freedom to move around the lake. After leaving Paektu, the journey typically takes visitors east to the Masikryong ski resort, a place that seems almost unbelievable given the context of North Korea. This resort was built in a remarkably short time, in less than a year, featuring over 10 ski runs that stretch down the slopes of Mount Taehwa. Masikryong has a cable car system, snowplows, and a large hotel at the foot of the mountain, all operated by the state. Interestingly, this location serves both as a platform for modern image propaganda and highlights the significant disparity in living standards, as most local residents have never skied. Foreign visitors are allowed to bring personal equipment, but all activities must be accompanied by a guide, even when moving within the resort. Outside of winter, Masikryong is nearly empty and is primarily used for internal groups. Next is the city of Kaesong, the former capital of the Goryeo dynasty, located near the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas. Kaesong presents a stark contrast to the modern image of Pyongyang, with many low-rise buildings, stone walls, and traditional tiled roofs. Here, you can find the Koryo Museum, which was originally a Confucian academy built in the 10th century, showcasing coins, stone tablets, and wooden engravings from the medieval period. Visitors can also explore the tombs of Goryeo kings scattered across the low hills surrounding the city, each burial site meticulously arranged according to Feng Shui principles. One surprising fact is that Kaesong was once home to the Inter-Korean Industrial Complex, where North Korean workers were employed by South Korean companies before it was shut down due to political tensions. While touring Kaesong, visitors can witness a rare intersection of feudal history, cultural heritage, and tangible remnants of modern division. Number 12. Mysterious places in North Korea. Ryongyang Salt Cave, located on the outskirts of Pyongyang, is often mentioned as a space with many phenomena that are difficult to explain through ordinary observation. This cave is a natural salt mine formed deep within limestone mountains, discovered several decades ago. Inside the cave, the temperature remains almost constant throughout the year, with very slight fluctuations, regardless of whether it is the scorching summer or the freezing winter outside. The humidity is also unusually stable, not giving off a damp feeling like most other natural caves. According to domestic reports, the air in the cave contains a large amount of negative ions, but specific data or measurement methods have never been fully disclosed to the outside world. Another phenomenon that intrigues many is that the salt blocks on the cave walls seem to remain unchanged over time, despite the continuous flow of visitors. Some areas within the cave exhibit very unusual echoes, with sounds being absorbed more quickly than in typical caves, making voices sound shorter and deeper. So far, no independent research has been allowed to access the site to accurately determine the geological structure or chemical composition responsible for these phenomena. Leaving Ryongyang Cave, the story shifts to the Goguryeo tomb complex scattered across southern Korea, one of the oldest relics on the peninsula. These tombs were built over 1,500 years ago, buried deep underground and famous for their well-preserved murals. What raises many questions is that despite centuries of high humidity, shifting earth, and changing climates, the murals have retained their vivid red, blue, and yellow colors. The pigments are believed to be natural minerals, but the way they adhere tightly to the stone walls without flaking remains unexplained. The structure of the tombs also raises many questions among researchers, as the internal ventilation system operates so effectively that the air does not become stagnant, even without any visible air ducts. As one ventures deeper, the temperature inside the tomb is noticeably cooler than outside, creating an unusually stable feeling. Some tombs even exhibit a slight reflective light on the surface of the murals when illuminated, despite the surfaces not being coated with any protective gloss. To date, there are no clear records detailing the construction techniques, color mixing methods, or preservation practices of the ancient Goguryeo people. Therefore, these tombs are still seen as evidence that the technical capabilities of that society far exceeded current understanding, and they are among the few places in Korea where history leaves more questions than answers. Number 13. Must-try dishes in North Korea. Naengmyeon from Pyongyang is the first dish most visitors are introduced to when dining in North Korea. This is a cold noodle dish with light gray noodles, primarily made from buckwheat, making it softer and more prone to breaking than the Korean noodles commonly found today. The noteworthy aspect lies not in its flavor but in the way it is eaten and its social significance. Naengmyeon was once considered a winter dish, as North Koreans traditionally used cold broth made from melted ice. Nowadays, the state promotes this dish as the original cuisine of the nation, to the extent that many restaurants in Pyongyang display signs stating that their version is the authentic one, while those outside are seen as altered. When eating, guests are not allowed to cut the noodles too short, as it is considered disrespectful to tradition. Next is bosuntang, dog meat soup, which is still openly served in state-run restaurants in North Korea. This dish is associated with the traditional belief that dog meat helps increase stamina and recover strength, especially in the summer. What surprises many is that bosuntang is not a rare dish. It was once encouraged as part of communal living, and at one point, it was even included in collective meals for workers. In reality, not everyone has the opportunity to eat it regularly, as meat remains a scarce commodity. The public existence of this dish reflects a stark difference in culinary cultural norms compared to many other countries. Another iconic dish is corn rice and corn porridge, foods closely tied to the daily lives of the people. Corn is not only a cooking ingredient but also a sign of the economic conditions of different periods. During difficult years, corn completely replaced rice and became the staple food. For many North Koreans, corn rice is not a choice but a reminder of the collective memory of survival. Today, when it appears in meals for foreign guests, it is presented as part of traditional cuisine, even though its essence clearly reflects a long history of food shortages. Number 14. Unique festivals of North Korea. The Arirang Festival typically takes place around August or September at the Mayday Stadium in Pyongyang and is considered one of the largest artistic events in the world. Tens of thousands of participants, including dancers, athletes, and students, take part simultaneously. A striking feature is the precisely coordinated mass performances, with every beat and step meticulously arranged. In the stands, thousands of students hold colored panels that create enormous, continuously changing images, ranging from landscapes and flowers to historical scenes. Each performance lasts several hours, narrating the story of the nation through music, artistic gymnastics, and collective dance. Preparation for this festival can take months, even years, and is regarded as an essential part of the national cultural life. Held annually on April 15, the Day of the Sun is a major festival celebrating the birthday of Kim Il-sung. Across the country, people participate in activities such as laying flowers at monuments, parades, artistic performances, and photo exhibitions. In Pyongyang, Kim Il-sung Square becomes the center of the main events, featuring fireworks displays in the evening. On this day, many museums and cultural sites open their doors for free to the public. Families often gather to eat and watch special television programs broadcast throughout the day. In October, the Harvest Festival is celebrated in many localities across Korea, particularly in rural areas. This is an occasion for people to celebrate the completion of the harvest and express their connection to the land. During the festival, villages organize folk games, sports competitions, traditional dances, and group singing. Many places also set up outdoor stages for performances of traditional instruments and musical storytelling. Food from the new harvest is prepared on site, creating communal meals for the entire community. This festival vividly reflects the collective lifestyle and community spirit that continue to thrive in today's North Korean society. Number 15. Important tips for travelers. The first thing many foreign tourists often encounter when visiting North Korea is that the itinerary is never as fixed as they might have heard beforehand. On paper, you will be clearly informed of each destination and time slot, but in reality, the schedule can change on the same day without any explanation. A museum might suddenly close, a city could be crossed off the itinerary, or a sightseeing spot might be replaced by another location. These are all common occurrences. The reasons usually have nothing to do with weather or technical issues, but stem from political factors or internal control. If you show discomfort or continuously ask for explanations, you may easily attract attention and face more restrictions on your activities. Tourists also often find themselves led into designated souvenir shops where prices are significantly higher than the actual value. This is almost a mandatory stop on the journey. Refusing to buy is not prohibited, But if you appear skeptical or inquire too much about the prices, you might be seen as uncooperative. Some items are presented as traditional handicrafts, but in reality, they are mass-produced. Additionally, it is important to pay attention to hotel usage. Not every floor is accessible, elevators sometimes do not stop at certain levels, and wandering outside the designated areas can lead to immediate attention from security personnel. There have been cases where tourists were officially reprimanded during group meetings simply for being curious and opening the fire escape door. Finally, it's crucial to be mindful of how to express attitudes towards political symbols. Even if you mean no harm, walking too quickly, standing in the wrong position, or appearing indifferent when asked to stop and observe can all be noted. In North Korea, many seemingly minor behaviors are viewed as signs of respect or disrespect, and this directly impacts your experience throughout the trip. And those are the truths that no one tells you about North Korea. I hope the 15 facts shared have provided you with a fresh perspective on this country. If you found the video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. Which fact impressed you the most? Please leave a comment below. We would love to hear your thoughts.